You open your eyes. The alarm hasn't gone off yet. The room is quiet. No one needs anything from you yet. Nothing has gone wrong. And yet, there's already this weight. Not in your body. Not in your chest exactly. Just there. Like you started the day already behind. You didn't sleep badly. You're not sick. There's nothing specific to point to. But something in you feels like it's already been running for hours. And the strangest part? You can't explain it to anyone. Because from the outside your life looks fine. You have responsibilities. Maybe a job, a relationship, people depending on you. Nothing catastrophic. Nothing dramatic. Just this quiet, persistent exhaustion that shows up before the day has even asked anything of you. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a thought moves through that you've learned not to say out loud. I'm tired of this. And I don't even know what this is. If that lands somewhere familiar, stay with me. Because that feeling isn't random. And it's not weakness. There's something very specific happening inside you. And once you understand it, the weight starts to make a different kind of sense. This video isn't about productivity hacks or morning routines. It's not going to tell you to journal more or sleep 8 hours and everything will be fine. What we're going to get into today is something deeper. That pre-day exhaustion, that tiredness that's already sitting on your chest when you wake up, is not a sleep problem. It's not even really a time problem. It's a psychological one. And it has specific causes. Real ones. We're going to talk about what's actually happening in your mind when you wake up already drained. Why this happens to men, especially in their 30s and 40s, more than most people realize or talk about. And what kind of shift actually helps. Not the kind that turns you into a different person. The kind that makes you feel like yourself again. So let's start at the beginning. There's a concept in psychology called cognitive load. The basic idea is this: your mind has a processing capacity. And just like a phone running 17 apps in the background, even when the screen looks off, your mind is working constantly. Most men don't realize how much mental processing they're doing before they even speak their first word of the day. The moment consciousness returns in the morning, your brain doesn't slowly warm up. It boots directly into its stored emotional state. Unresolved tensions, lingering pressures, background anxieties, quiet resentments, things you haven't figured out yet. All of it already active, already loading. Researchers who study what's called pre-sleep and post-wake cognition have found that emotional rumination, the mental habit of cycling through problems, fears, and unresolved situations, doesn't stop when you sleep. It continues in low-level processing, and it picks right back up the moment you're awake. So that heavy feeling before the day starts? It's not coming from the day. It's coming from everything you've been carrying without fully setting down. Now here's where it gets specific to men. There's a pattern that shows up consistently in men who are high-functioning, responsible, and outwardly doing well. They've learned, often since early in life, to keep going, to not dwell, to handle it, to push through. And that's not nothing. That resilience is real. But the cost is this: when you're trained to suppress emotional processing in favor of forward movement, the feelings don't vanish. They accumulate. They sit in background processes you're not consciously aware of. And they quietly drain your system. All night. Every night. Until one morning you wake up and the tank feels half empty before the first hour has even begun. Let's break down what's actually feeding this. There are 5 psychological drivers I see beneath this kind of exhaustion. And my guess is, at least 2 or 3 of them are going to feel uncomfortably accurate. Driver 1. The weight of accumulated emotional debt. Every time something happens that carries an emotional charge, a conversation that went sideways, a disappointment you swallowed, an interaction that left you feeling unseen, a decision you made that doesn't sit right, and you don't process it, it gets filed away. Not erased, not resolved, filed. And over months and years that filing system gets heavy. Men, in particular, are socialized to treat emotional processing as optional. Something to do later. Something for when there's time. But there is no later in the nervous system. The nervous system doesn't have a pending tray. What doesn't get processed gets stored as tension. In the body. In the background of the mind. And the longer it accumulates without release, the more it costs you just to exist. You wake up tired not because your day was hard. You wake up tired because your internal storage is full. And nothing got cleared overnight. Driver 2, the identity treadmill. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from doing a version of your life that doesn't feel like yours. A lot of men in their 30s and 40s hit a moment where they realize they've been building toward something for years, and they're not sure they actually want what they've been building toward. Maybe the career made sense at 26. Maybe the role you're playing, provider, fixer, responsible one, made sense when it was new. But somewhere along the way it started feeling like a costume you can't take off. And here's the psychological truth. When there's a gap between who you are and who you're performing to be, your nervous system feels that gap. It registers as low-level threat. Not the kind that makes you panic. The kind that just quietly costs. That gap burns energy even when nothing dramatic is happening. You wake up tired because some part of you has been working overnight to reconcile who you are with who you feel required to be. And it can't. Because that reconciliation doesn't happen in sleep. It happens in honesty. Driver 3, unspoken pressure. Ask most men what they're under pressure about and they'll give you a surface answer. Or money. Keeping things together. But sit with it longer and something deeper tends to emerge. There's often a quiet, unnamed pressure that sounds something like, I can't afford to slow down. Not now. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And underneath that, a fear that if you stop, even for a moment, something important will fall apart. Maybe something external, the financial picture, the relationship, the responsibilities. Maybe something internal, the sense that you're only valuable when you're useful. That kind of pressure doesn't clock out. It follows you into sleep. It's already back when you wake up. And here's the part that's rarely named. That pressure isn't always coming from your circumstances. A lot of it is self-generated. Not because you're broken or neurotic, but because somewhere in your development, worth and rest became opposites. Rest started to feel dangerous. Stillness started to feel like falling behind. And your nervous system, being the loyal guardian it is, learned to stay on. Even when there's nothing to guard against. Even at 6 in the morning when the alarm hasn't gone off. Driver 4, the meaning gap. There's a particular kind of tiredness that lives in men who are doing the right things, but feel disconnected from why. You're showing up. You're responsible. You're handling it. But something feels faint. Like the signal is weak. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust and spent his life studying meaning, wrote that human beings can endure almost anything when they have a strong enough why. And the inverse is also true. Without meaning, even manageable things become exhausting. Not because the things are too hard, but because the internal engine that fuels you is running on obligation alone. Obligation gets you going, but obligation doesn't nourish you. And a man running on obligation year after year, without genuine purpose or meaning, wakes up tired. Not because life is too hard, because it doesn't feel connected to anything that matters deeply to him. Driver 5, the loneliness that doesn't have a name. This one is the quietest, and often the most significant. A lot of men who feel this pre-morning exhaustion are not, by any measure, alone. They have people in their lives. Maybe a partner, friends, family. And yet there's this feeling of being fundamentally unseen, of carrying something that no one around them fully understands, of having an interior life that doesn't get aired out. Not because people don't care, but because the habit of going deep, of actually saying what's true, has been quietly trained out. And that loneliness isn't loud. It's not the loneliness of isolation. It's the loneliness of being in the room but not really known. Of existing in a life where no one asks how you're actually doing, and where, even if they did, you're not sure what you'd say. That kind of unexpressed inner experience accumulates like everything else. and it drains you in ways that are difficult to trace. Because you can't point to the loneliness and say there it is. It doesn't present as loneliness. It presents as tiredness. Let me stay here for a moment, because I think there's something important to name that usually goes unspoken. The kind of exhaustion we're talking about today, the kind that starts before the day does, often carries a quiet layer of shame. Because from the outside, everything looks manageable. You're not in crisis. You're not falling apart. You're functioning. And that functioning becomes its own kind of trap. Because you can't justify the weight you feel. There's no dramatic reason for it. Just this persistent low-grade heaviness that you've gotten so used to, you've almost stopped noticing it's there. Until mornings like this one, where it's too quiet to ignore. And some men, when they sit with that feeling long enough, hit something even harder. A quiet fear that goes something like this. Is this just what life is? Not despair exactly. Not hopelessness. More like a resignation. Like the possibility of feeling genuinely alive and engaged and rested with something for a different version of yourself. A younger one maybe. Before the responsibilities. Before the decisions compounded. Before you became who you had to become. And that particular fear. The fear that you've been slowly hollowed out by the ordinary weight of being a man in the world, doesn't get talked about. Because it doesn't sound dramatic enough to take seriously. And it doesn't sound simple enough to fix. So it just lives there. Underneath the mornings. Underneath the day. I want you to hear this clearly. That fear makes sense. Not because it's accurate, but because it's what happens when a person has been giving output, without meaningful input, for a long time. You were never supposed to run indefinitely on discipline alone. That's not a character flaw. That's just physics. So what do you actually do with this? Let's be honest about one thing first. This isn't the kind of thing that gets solved with a better morning routine. But it also isn't the kind of thing that requires years of therapy before anything shifts. What it requires is something simpler and harder than either of those. A gradual return to honesty. Internal honesty. Not grand revelations. Not dramatic life overhauls. Just small acts of accurate naming. First, start distinguishing between what you're tired of and what you're tired from. There's a difference. Tired from is circumstantial. A hard week. A demanding stretch. It passes with rest. Tired of is deeper. It's the signal that something, a role, a pattern, a mode of operating, has stopped working for you. Most men lump both into a single feeling of fatigue and try to manage it with caffeine and willpower. But if what you're actually tired of is never named, no amount of rest fixes it. Spend 10 minutes this week, not journaling, not meditating, just thinking quietly. Asking yourself, what am I tired of? Not to fix it immediately, just to know. Second, let yourself feel incomplete without immediately solving it. This is uncomfortable for most men because we're problem solvers by orientation. The moment we identify something wrong, the instinct is to move to action. But some of what's draining you isn't a problem to fix. It's an experience to acknowledge. The friend you miss who you've drifted from. The version of yourself you haven't been recently. The thing you used to care about that got crowded out. These don't need solutions in this moment. They need recognition. Naming something, even just inside your own mind, releases a small amount of the weight of carrying it unnamed. Third, address the input deficit. If you're consistently running on obligation, pressure, and forward movement without genuine restoration, you will be tired before the day starts. Not because you're weak, because the math doesn't work. And restoration for men isn't always what it gets sold as. It's not necessarily a vacation or a spa day. Genuine restoration is usually something quieter. A conversation where you actually said what was true. Time spent doing something that has no output, no purpose, no audience. A stretch of silence that you didn't fill with distraction. These are small. They feel almost embarrassingly small. But the nervous system registers them. And over time they change the baseline. Fourth, reconsider what you owe the morning. There's a pressure many men carry, often unexamined, that the moment the day begins, they belong to it entirely. To the to-do list, to the people who need things, to the role. What if the first 10 minutes of the morning belong to nothing? No phone, no news, no productivity, just existing, not as a performance of wellness, but as a quiet signal to your nervous system. The day hasn't claimed you yet. That boundary, small as it sounds, tells your body something important. That you are not only useful, that you exist independent of your function. And that quiet 10 minutes of nothing is often where the weight starts to lift. I want to close with something honest. The tiredness we've been talking about today, the kind that lives in the space before the alarm, before the responsibilities, before the day gets hold of you, is not a sign that something is fundamentally broken. It's usually a sign that something is fundamentally overextended. A person who has been carrying a lot quietly without much relief for a long time. And what that person needs isn't a productivity system. It isn't 10 steps to optimal living. What he usually needs is to be understood. By the people around him, ideally. But first, by himself. Because the exhaustion before the day starts isn't coming from the day. It's coming from everything you haven't yet allowed yourself to fully look at. And looking doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be honest. If something in this video landed for you, I'd genuinely like to know what it was. Not the broad idea, the specific thing, the driver that felt most familiar, the moment that hit closest to home. Drop it in the comments. Not for me, but for yourself. Because naming it out loud, even in a comment section, is a small act of the honesty we talked about today. And small acts are where everything real begins. Take care of yourself.